I'll start the recording of the video. You can start the class. Okay? This is okay. We were discussing enzymatic catalysis. The all the mechanisms, the mechanism that makes a reaction on the enzyme surface faster. So in the previous class, we have seen the enzyme catalytic covalent catalysis. In today's class, let us see acid-base catalysis. Acid-base catalysis means generally this is carried out by oxidoreductase enzymes, or if there is any histidine residue, histidine amino acid in the active site of an enzyme, then we will see this type of reaction mechanism, that is acid-base catalysis. For example, suppose an enzyme is having these residues. Suppose these are the residues: aspartic acid, histidine, and serine. These are the residues. Residues ante amino acids anamata. These are the amino acids present at the active site of an enzyme. So this is the substrate here. What is the substrate here? Which functional group is this? This is amide functional group. So this enzyme, it should break this amidic bond. Okay, it should break this bond. So here we have three amino acid residues of an present at the active site of an enzyme. So here serine is involved. For serine, what it does is it by using this oxygen, serine amino acid, by using this oxygen, it will bind to this substrate with covalent bond. Okay, with covalent bond. See the binding interactions of the enzymatic active site with this substrate. A covalent bond is formed. Then this histidine is there now. Whenever histidine amino acid is present in the active site, it acts as an acid as well as a base catalyst. It is donating the proton, and it is making the binding of this substrate with this active site stronger. Well, so when the binding interactions between the enzyme and the substrate are stronger, you will get a lower energy transition state. When the transition state is in lower energy, obviously activation energy will decrease and the reaction will proceed faster. Let us take an example. This is an example. This is an example. See here, you can see there are two amino acids you can see here. What is the amino acid? Serine and histidine. And these are the amino acids present at the active site of an enzyme, acetylcholine esterase. Okay, these are the active site amino acids of an enzyme, acetylcholine esterase. So this is the substrate here. What is the name of this substrate? The name of this substrate is acetylcholine. Okay, this is acetylcholine, and this is the enzyme's active site. Active site contains serine and histidine. Now, as first acetylcholine bind with this enzyme's active site. Then enzyme substrate complex or transition state is formed first. So serine is there, histidine is there. As I said earlier, in the previous example, whenever serine is there, it will bind to the substrate with covalent bond. Okay, covalent catalysis will be there. Then we have also here, histidine is also there. Whenever histidine is present in the active site of an enzyme, it will act as an acid and base catalyst. Okay, it will act as an acid and base catalyst. First, serine comes in the picture. It will bind to this substrate. See here, the binding here. By donating this lone pair of electron to this electrophilic carbon, a covalent bond is formed here. You can see here. Now, histidine will make this binding of this substrate stronger by acting as a base catalyst as well as an acid catalyst. Okay, now you can say that the whole thing that CH2 N plus Me3, this ammonium group with alkyl substrate is represented here with R. Okay, it is represent, this whole group is represented here with R. Don't get confused, both are same. Now the binding interactions are made stronger when histidine comes into play. Histidine, by donating this lone pair of electron, it will accept the hydrogen ion from this serine amino acid. Okay, see here, hydrogen is accepted. By accepting this proton, now this will act as a base here, so base catalyst. So here in the at the enzymatic surface, what is happening here? This substrate is breaking down into, here the bond will be broken here between C double bond O and oxygen. Okay, bond will be broken here, and you will get acetic acid and alcohol as the products. And leaving the enzymatic here amino acid unchanged here, unchanged. See like the same. Now, histidine. Now this alcoholic molecule, it will take up this proton. Now histidine is acting as a acid catalyst here because this is proton donor here. This is here in this case it is proton acceptor. It is base catalyst. Now histidine is acting as a acid catalyst. It is taking up the, it is giving away the proton to this group. Now this OR group, it will accept this proton forming OR plus R dash. Now, this OR dash is eliminated from this carbon. The bond is broken here as ROH. ROH. Now, see the bond is broken here. Now, the substrate bond is broken here. One product is eliminated, that is ROH. R means what? CH2 CH2 N plus in E3OH. Now again here, then we also want this group to be departed from this enzymatic surface. So for this, we have to use a water molecule. We all know in our body, water molecules will be there. So every enzyme will surround with a water molecule, as well as every active site will have water molecules in it. Now, a water molecule acts as a nucleophile here. Now it will bind to this substrate molecule with a covalent bond. Here again, histidine acts as a base catalyst here by abstracting one proton from this H2O molecule. Now, the serine, which is bonded covalently with the substrate molecule, has to be get back to its original position. This serine has to be this bond has to be broken, and OH has to be regained. For that purpose, again, the histidine acts as an acid catalyst by donating a proton to this serine oxygen. See here. Now the bond between the substrate and this serine amino acid is broken here. See here, serine is regained and histidine is back to its position, and the product, that is acetic acid, is departed from the enzymatic surface. If you see the series of reactions here, in all the series of reactions, histidine is binding with the substrate with covalent bond, and serine is binding with the substrate with the covalent bond, and histidine is acting as an acid and base catalyst here. So both histidine and serine, they are giving good binding interactions to the substrate, thus making the reaction easier and faster. So if you see, at the first we have OH and histidine molecule, and at the end of the reaction also, both OH, that is serine, and histidine are remain unchanged. Okay, they are again, the surface is again available for other molecule of this to sit here on the surface and carry out the enzymatic reaction. So this is about covalent catalysis and acid-base catalysis. Okay. Now there are many theories how the substrate is binding with the enzyme. The one theory is lock and key model that was proposed by Emil Fischer in 1894. According to him, the substrate binds to the this is enzyme. These are the substrate. Binds with the substrate binds with the enzyme in a lock and key manner. So lock and key ante telusu kada, both enzyme and key is fixed in their conformations. Both are fixed conformations. When the key goes and binds with when the key goes and sits in the lock, only one, there should not be any change in the position of the lock. Okay. Here also, enzyme, when the substrate comes and sits at the surface of the active site of the enzyme, it is considered to be as a static model. Okay, there should not be any change, no little change at the active site. But in actual manner, in actual theory, all the enzymes in our body, not only the enzymes, all the whatever the moiety is present in the body, they are always in motion. They are always in a movement form. They are like కదులుతూ ఉంటాయి కదా అన్ని మాలిక్యూల్స్ కానీ enzymes, proteins, always in the body. They are always in motion. So we cannot consider lock and key model for an enzyme and substrate. So we cannot consider that lock form for the active site of an enzyme. So another theory was proposed, that is induced fit model. Induced fit model, as I said, it is not a static model. Enzyme is not a static. It is always in a movement form in our body. So when a substrate comes, if you see this model carefully, see this picture carefully. This is the see my cursor. Observe my cursor here. This is the active site of an enzyme. This is an enzyme. The substrate comes and binds with this enzyme. See here, this is like hollow space. When the substrate is coming and binding with this active site, this the shape here, the hollow space here, it is converted to conical shape. So enzyme is inducing itself. The active site shape is inducing itself with the shape of the substrate, such that this enzyme is having maximum interactions with the substrate. When the interactions are maximum, we will get a lower energy transition state, thus decreasing the activation energy, which makes the reaction faster. So, in 1958, Daniel Koshland, they proposed induced fit model, and till today, this model is accepted for the enzyme substrate theory. So, this is the induced fit model again. Now, let us see the enzyme catalysis. So, we have already discussed all these things. Okay, now let us see the enzyme catalysis kinetics of the enzyme catalysis. So we all know that enzymatic reactions, enzyme catalyzed reactions will enhance the rate of the reaction. Here enzyme is acting as a catalyst. It will provide a unique reaction mechanism, that is unique reaction mechanism, like by providing covalent catalysis, also by providing acid-base catalysis. So by providing all these reaction mechanism, it will make the reaction faster. But during all these reaction mechanism processes, the enzymatic active site is again, it emerges without itself undergoing any change. Let us see what are the factors that influence this enzyme catalyst reactions. Basically, there are three factors: temperature, pH, and the substrate concentration. Let us see one by one. Let us see first the effect of temperature. We all know in a simple catalysis also, if there is a 10 degrees rise in temperature, the reaction rate doubles or triples. We all know this. That is known as temperature coefficient. Here also, in the case of enzyme catalysis reaction also, when the temperature is increased to 10 degrees centigrade, the rate of the reaction doubles here. That is also here also it is known as a temperature coefficient, and it is indicated with Q10. Okay, Q10. The one more important thing that one has to remember here, one has to notice here, that every enzyme is having optimum temperature, and most of the enzymes except thermophilic enzymes means they are generally present in very hot conditions. They are stable till 90 degrees centigrade. Except thermophilic enzymes, all the other enzymes, they are stable in between these conditions. What are the temperatures? 35 to 45 degrees centigrade only. Above 35 degrees centigrade and below above 45 degrees centigrade and below 35 degrees centigrade, that enzyme do not work. Okay, that enzyme do not work. In between these temperatures only, most of the enzymes are stable. Below this temperature and above this temperature, that enzyme loses its tertiary structure. When the tertiary structure is lost, it converts into linear structure. So there will be no active site, there will be no catalysis. So every enzyme is stable at a particular temperature, and every enzyme will have a temperature at which it is having a maximum activity. Okay. maximum activity. That temperature is known as optimum temperature. Let us see by taking an example. If you see this graph, see, so this is a temperature graph of one of the enzyme. If you see this carefully, observe this graph. If you carefully observe this graph here, say here, this is temperature. X-axis is temperature 0 degree centigrade, 10, 20, 30 degrees centigrade, 40, 50, 60. And y-axis is the rate of the reaction. If you observe this graph, see here this arrow, if you see this peak here, rate of the, as the temperature is increasing, rate of the reaction is increasing. Till here, this is the maximum uh, rate of the reaction, means this temperature. What is this temperature? Nearly 35 degrees centigrade. At 35 degrees centigrade, this enzyme is having maximum activity. See here, this one. After 35 degrees centigrade, the activity is G10, and see here, the activity is falling between 40 degrees centigrade to 60 degrees centigrade. The activity is falling here. And after 60 degrees centigrade, there is no activity at all. After 40 degrees centigrade, the activity is falling, means the enzyme is slowly degrading or losing its tertiary structure. It is slowly converting to linear structure. When it is slowly converting to linear structure, the active site of the enzyme is lost here slowly, gradually is lost. After 60 degrees centigrade, eventually there is no tertiary structure of an enzyme. The enzyme is dead here. You can also say that the enzyme is dead. So there is no activity. So every enzyme will have an optimum temperature. For this particular enzyme, the optimum temperature is 35 degrees centigrade. Okay. Now let us see the effect of pH. Like temperature, every enzyme is active at a particular pH. Okay. Most of the enzymes are active in between 5 pH 5 to 9. Okay, pH 5 to 9. For example, consider this example. On the x-axis pH is taken, on the y-axis enzyme activity is taken here. So as a pH of this enzyme is pH of the solution is increased here, the activity of the enzyme is slowly increasing. At pH 8, the enzyme is having maximum activity. This pH at which the enzyme is having maximum activity is known as optimum pH. After this pH 8, if we still increase the pH, the activity is falling here. That means what? The enzyme is slowly denaturing. Denaturing ante the tertiary structure is slowly converting into linear structure. Linear structure ante single straight line ga మారిపోవడం అన్నమాట. Linear structure. అప్పుడు straight line ga primary structure ga మారిపోవడం. Primary structure, once the primary structure is retained, there is no tertiary structure, there is no active site, there is no hollow sphere. So if you observe this graph, slowly again from 8 to 11 pH, the enzyme activity slowly degrading, because here the enzyme starts denaturing, that is it starts losing its tertiary structure, and after pH 11 the enzyme is losing its activity totally. Okay, so the maximum activity is at pH 8, so this is the optimum pH. So every enzyme will have an optimum pH and optimum temperature. So if you want to study more about the enzyme, more of its reactions, what you have to select these temperatures. First you have to identify at which condition the enzyme is showing the maximum activity, that is at pH, at what pH and what temperature. Once you know this optimum pH and temperature, if you want to study about this enzyme more in details, then you have to make this as standard conditions, that is optimum pH and optimum temperature. Use these standard conditions, then you can study, you can do the more reactions on this enzyme. Okay, this is about effect of temperature. See, these are the few examples, examples of enzymes. Uh, Here, the optimum pH is given here. See, this is the pepsin enzyme, this is trypsin, and this is arginase. If you see the effect of pH on this pepsin enzyme, so can anybody tell at which what is the optimum pH for this pepsin enzyme? Anybody? Can anyone tell what is the optimum temperature? What is the optimum pH for this pepsin enzyme, trypsin and arginase? Anybody? Girls, answer, reply. So pepsin is having optimum pH at 2, see here 2. At 2 it is having maximum activity, and trypsin is having maximum activity at 7, and arginase here it is at nearly 9. Okay. Now let us see the other topic, that is inhibition. Inhibition means prevention of enzymatic process by providing some other molecules. These molecules are known as inhibitors. They interact with the enzyme and they will inhibit, they prevent the enzymatic reaction. Inhibitors, the definition is any substance that can diminish the velocity of an enzyme catalyst reaction is known as inhibitor. Let us see the types of inhibitions. Generally, there are two types, reversible and irreversible. And under reversible, we have again three types, competitive, uncompetitive, non-competitive. Let us see each one of these. Reversible inhibition. Reversible inhibition means it is an inhibition where the enzyme activity is inhibited by uh, association or dissociation from the protein's binding site, that is from the protein's active site. These are of three types, competitive, uncompetitive, non-competitive. Competitive inhibition means in this type of inhibition, the inhibitors, they compete with the substrate's active site here. So if the substrate comes first and sits at the active site, then that enzyme becomes active. Or if the inhibitor comes first and sits at the enzyme's active site, it blocks the substrate from sitting there because it has come first and sat there. So in this way, the substrate is prohibited from binding at the active site, thereby the enzyme activity is lost. So competitive inhibition means both the substrate and inhibitor will have both the same structure. They compete with the same active site. Whoever comes first, they'll get the active site. And or else we can also put like whichever concentration is more, they'll come and sit the active site. If the substrate concentration is more, it will enhances the activity of the enzyme. Or if the inhibitor concentration is more, it will inhibit the enzyme. For example, statin drug, it is an example of competitive inhibition. Non-competitive inhibition, in this type of inhibition, the active site of the enzyme is lost by uh, by binding of the inhibitor at another site, not at the active site. That site is known as allosteric site. Okay, allosteric site. So when inhibitor goes and binds with this allosteric site, the active site is induced, the shape of the active site is changed. So it cannot, the substrate no longer identifies the active site of the enzyme because the shape is changed there. So it will not bind with the active site, therefore the activity is lost. So uncompetitive inhibition. Uncompetitive inhibition means even if the substrate enzymatic complex is already formed, this inhibitor will not compete with the substrate. Even if the substrate enzyme complex is formed, inhibitor goes and sits in that complex and it will change the shape of the active site, thereby inhibiting the enzyme. So enzyme examples are treatment of poisoning by methanol, ethylene are examples of uncompetitive inhibitors, and tetramethylene sulfoxide and 3-butyl thiolene monoxide are uncompetitive inhibitors of liver alcohol dehydrogenase. If you see this picture, you will understand in a better way. See, this first one is competitive inhibition. Here, this is the active site and of the enzyme. Competitive inhibition means if the substrate comes first and binds with this enzyme, the enzyme will be active. Or else if the inhibitor comes first and binds with this enzymatic active site, it will inhibit means the activity, it will block the substrate because the active site is occupied with the inhibitor. Non-competitive inhibition, here this is the active site of an enzyme, and this is the allosteric site. Here inhibitor will not bind with the active site, but first it comes with sit here at the other side of the enzyme, that is known as allosteric site. Once the inhibitor binds with this enzymatic allosteric site, the shape of this active site is changed here, because it is a, as I said, this always whenever a molecule comes and sit at the enzyme, there is an induced fit. So it will change the shape of this active site, and this substrate, it will no longer identify this active site. So in this way, the substrate is prohibited in from binding with this active site of the enzyme, and the enzyme is inhibited. Uncompetitive inhibition. Here, uncompetitive inhibition means it will inhibitor, it does not care whether the substrate is there or not in the active site. It will come and sit there and it will inhibit the enzyme. This is about reversible inhibition. So one more type of inhibition we have, that is irreversible inhibition. This type of inhibition involves a covalent attachment. Here a covalent bond is formed between the active site amino acids and the substrate. Okay. So when the covalent bond is formed between the active site amino acid and the substrate, uh, the catalytic activity of enzyme is completely lost. So we can only it can only be restored only by synthesizing molecules. So here, see here, this in this example, this is the active site amino acid, this is serine. Whenever serine is there, a covalent bond is formed. As I already, this is a substrate. This substrate will bind with this active site's enzyme with a covalent bond. So there is a permanent bond here. So this the bonding interaction are so strong, it the enzyme and cannot be regained again. The only way to get back this enzyme is just you degrade this enzyme inhibitor complex and then synthesize another molecule of the enzyme. And the examples are aspirin. Aspirin is an inhibitor which targets and covalently binds with a enzyme's active site. Then we have enzyme specificity. Enzyme specificity means each enzyme, as I said, since its active site is unique, it will bind with only specific substrates only. Let us see the enzyme specificity in detail. Enzymes are highly specific in nature. Okay, I'll stop here. Again, we will continue if at all possible tomorrow. If you are free, we will continue tomorrow. Okay, girls, I'll stop my class here.
Okay.